Next on Paranormal, Caught on Camera.
God, it's moving.
A spooky shadow spirit hiding in a cemetery.
I was ready to run.
Attacked by the Rake, a monster born from the darkest corners of the internet.
As this video shows, the Rake is ready to rip your face off.
A vengeful spirit takes control of a car.
Oh, God! You have got to be kidding me.
The car alarm goes off, and like when I look to my right, my heart dropped because you don't know what's going on at that point in time.
Alien light spotted from a plane over California.
It was a bright light that became two lights, and I couldn't explain what I was looking at.
A trespasser gets a ghostly warning in an abandoned house.
If somebody is throwing something at you, you're dealing with an apparitional or an intelligent type of spirit.
Oh my God, this place.
And even more paranormal footage you have to see to believe. Evergreen Cemetery, located in Jacksonville, Florida, is one of the oldest still operating graveyards in the state. Shortly after its opening in 1881, a yellow fever epidemic hit the city hard, and over 400 people died from the vicious disease. A portion of the cemetery was dedicated to these victims, and while the traumatized bodies may be laid to rest in the ground, one paranormal investigator recently found out some of the spirits could still be lingering above.
I am literally surrounded by crypts.
In February 2019, Florida resident and videographer Frank Mendez set out with his camera to explore Evergreen.
This one is the biggest, and there is some old stuff in this graveyard.
My name is Frank, and I shot this video. I've actually been exploring my entire life, pretty much. I only just recently decided to start doing it on camera. It started off at me exploring abandoned places first, but as I was exploring these abandoned places, a lot of creepy stuff would tend to happen. The cemetery I thought would be a good place to kind of check out as well, so I decided to go there.
It's getting darker. Usually when it gets darker, that's when things happen. So from here on out, I would start paying extra close attention to weird anomalies and things you might hear.
All of a sudden, Frank heard what sounded like music coming from a nearby mausoleum.
Oh, give me a freaking break. That is freaking spooky.
There's like this weird, creepy Egyptian tomb that I was passing by. And when you're looking at the tomb, you would hear this music box going off into the side.
I'm trying to find it, but I don't want to get too close. Look at the size of this thing.
And then you get these cold chills or whatever. And then I actually did a little bit of a walk around there. I was like, all right, I'm going to head on out of here. But I could not find that music box.
Hello?
And it is sort of eerie hearing the sound of that music box in a cemetery. It might be somebody trying to get his attention, to say, hey, take a look over here. I want to show you that I'm here.
It literally sounded like a legit music box. I am freaking out.
Frank tried to regain his composure and figure out his next move.
Oh my God, this place gives me the creeps.
But before he could do that, he spotted something peering out from the doorway of the mausoleum.
What is it? What the is that?
I didn't really pay attention until I look at it with the camera, and I'm looking forward. I'm like, what is that?
It's like a black thing.
I thought it was probably like a bird or something, but when I saw it start to move into the mausoleum, that's when I got like goosebumps and I got shivers, and I was like, oh my God.
Oh my God. It's moving. What the is that?
The figure that he saw sort of looks like a shadow figure.
Shadow people are fairly common in paranormal investigations. They're described in many, many different ways.
A lot of people believe that they could be demonic energies. People say that they are interdimensional beings. A lot of people could say that shadow people are just like the dead. But what I noticed about shadow people, and what's evident in this clip, is that there's an intelligence to them. Shadow people always seem to know you're there.
Frank bravely walked into the tomb to see if he could figure out exactly what it was he saw.
Hello?
I was ready to run. I was ready to run. I was ready. I even was going to use the camera as a weapon if somebody jumped out.
Okay. And it's not even there no more. Of course it's not even there no more. Holy shit.
What he finds out is terrifying. Not only is the creature missing, but there is an open tomb that suggests the creature may have possibly come from this open tomb. It's really strange and spooky.
At that point, I was just like, I think this is a little bit too much, because at this point, usually when you stay longer while things are happening, more things will tend to happen. And once I saw that and there was no explanation from it, I'm like, it's time to go. I gotta get out of here.
I don't know what I just saw. It literally was right here.
When it comes to types of activity, a graveyard is pretty much the general store of the paranormal. Anything can happen. You'll see shadow forms, you'll hear music.
Oh, give me a freaking break.
You'll see full-bodied apparitions, mists, orbs, what have you. It's just a ripe playground for whatever wants to make itself known.
What the is that?
For many, flying on a plane can bring about a range of emotions. Some are anxious about the heights or impending turbulence. Others are excited about what awaits on the other side of the journey. But for one couple en route to California, their flight mainly brought about shock and awe at something otherworldly. In October 2018, Janexis Molinos and her husband Joel were excited for their first trip to the West Coast. But while on the plane traveling from Miami to San Francisco, a bright light out the window caught Joel's attention.
My name is Janexis Molinos. We were on our way to San Francisco, and my husband was looking out the window, and he calls my attention whispering, "Hey, look out the window. What do you think that is?" But I couldn't explain what I was looking at. It was a bright light that became 2 lights, and then it became 3 lights, and I was like, oh my God, what is going on?
I mean, it's definitely not a reflection of the window or anything like that. I thought it was just like one bright object, but I think it turned into like two bright lights.
It doesn't seem to fit the normal things one would see when looking out of the window of a plane.
I've traveled many times, and I like looking out the window all the time, but I had never in my life seen something like that. I mean, I understand the sun can be bright, this and that, but it's not the sun. It looked like car headlights.
It's kind of hard to tell how big it is just because it's hard to tell scale when you're in the sky. So it could be really small, could be really big and far away. But it looks pretty supernatural.
You could think maybe it's another plane taking the same trajectory. But if it is, it shouldn't be that bright.
Plane was going like one direction, and this one was coming like at a 45-degree angle. That's when I started to get a little scared.
We know the FAA has very strict flight plans for each plane, otherwise they would hit each other, and I much prefer that they don't. So what's it doing up there? It's definitely in the way of plane traffic, so that's what makes this so interesting.
Once safely on the ground, Janexis decided to post the video online to see if she could get answers. But it only led to more questions.
I started sharing our stories of what we saw. We didn't know what it was, and we started hearing stories about other people seeing things, and they told me there's an area 51, and then they said it could be, something that happens around that area.
California and throughout the American Southwest is, I would say, probably has the most sightings of UFOs and lights, unexplainable lights, than anywhere else in the U.S.
Many offered explanations, everything from solar panels to light reflections from the sun. But Genexis disagrees. None of those match the description of what she saw that day.
We had, I don't know how many stories of what it could be, but we were really looking at it. It had to be something flying next to us. But I do believe what I saw was definitely different. Something I have never in my life seen before, and I can't explain it.
Coming up, these friends put a ghostly local legend to the test in Delaware.
Oh, God!
Down an eerily quiet stretch of road in Woodland, Delaware, sits a place known to locals as Maggie's Bridge. The unassuming structure is connected to a tragic story of a pregnant woman named Maggie, who lived during the late 19th century. While she was traveling across the bridge, Maggie suffered a terrible accident, where both she and her baby were killed. Many believe she now haunts this spot, and if called out to, Maggie will respond by tampering with the car of those who disturb her. The legend has intrigued many ghost hunters over the years, and one group recently encountered the frightening truth.
Oh, God!
In February 2019, Delaware local C.J. Faison, along with his friends Omar and Tiffany, stopped at Maggie's Bridge. CJ had grown up hearing this tale, but had never investigated it.
I've never done this, but in my whole entire life here in Delaware that I've lived, that's what everyone says, that you come here, you do this, and you will swear by paranormal.
My name is CJ Faison. I was one of 3 people that were there, and basically if you go to the bridge and you hold your hands over the top of the bridge and say, Maggie, Maggie, I have your baby, you say that phrase 3 different times, some crazy stuff is supposed to happen.
Saying things 3 times creates this trifecta that's supposedly magical.
The act of chanting is really powerful, so it makes sense that a lot of these urban legends involve repeating a phrase over and over again.
You have the keys, right? We're gonna put them on the hood. You're supposed to put them on the hood at least, so.
Put the keys on the hood.
As local legend suggests, leaving the keys on the car hood ensures that the ghost cannot lock them inside.
Here's what the story is that you have to do. You hold your hands out like this, both hands out like this, and basically, say, Maggie, Maggie, I have your baby 3 times, that phrase 3 times. 1.
CJ, Omar, and Tiffany held their hands out over the bridge.
2.
And began the chant.
3. Maggie, Maggie, I have your baby. Maggie, Maggie, I have your baby. Maggie, Maggie, I have your baby.
But nothing happened.
I was honestly relieved. I'm like, okay, urban legend, not real, it's okay. I was about to look at Omar and be like, all right, well, nothing happened, let's go. You know what I mean? Not a bump at that point,
There's nothing that's happening with the car, the keys are still on there.
And then Omar tried again, but this time more forcefully, while keeping his eyes on both the car and the lake.
Maggie, Maggie, I have your baby.
Oh, please, no.
Maggie, Maggie, I have your baby. Maggie, Maggie, I have your baby.
He's dumb. No. Omar, please, no.
A lot of ghost hunters use the method of provoking to basically anger a ghost to the point where it's forced to show itself.
Maggie, Maggie, I have your baby.
Oh, please, no.
Now, this can be a dangerous thing and sometimes downright terrifying.
Maggie, Maggie, I have your baby.
I don't think you should be getting aggressive with anything paranormal because When you start yelling and raising your voice, it doesn't really bring out the good energy. It brings out bad energy. You know what I mean?
Maggie, Maggie, I have your baby.
He is dumb. That no. Omar, please no.
What? Off in the distance, you hear almost a response. I couldn't tell what it was saying, but it sounds female.
You guys heard that?
I'm froze, dude.
What the hell was that?
I have no idea.
Oh, God!
The scream got my attention. And then moments later, the car alarm goes off.
What the hell was that?
I have no idea.
Oh, God!
And like when I look to my right, just my heart dropped because you don't know what's going on at that point in time.
You have got to be kidding me. Yo, there's no way.
They made a point of putting the keys on the hood so that we know it wasn't him setting the car alarm off.
Once they turned off the alarm, they were thoroughly freaked out and decided it was time to go, but quickly realized they couldn't.
Oh, I am dead serious right now.
It is not starting, 100%. Not starting.
Once we got in the car, he was actually like trying to start it up. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, I'm in the car business. I know how this works. And it was like it had a dead battery. So finally we had to wait and we actually had to get a jump start.
It's seriously not starting?
No, that's like no joke.
I don't know if like a spirit drew the battery dead, but obviously the car's battery was dead, which was odd to me. How's the car's battery dead when the alarm was just going off? You know what I mean? Like, I was like, man, this is like getting like really creepy at this point.
Of course, spirits want to interact with people, but they can also interact with things around us. And technology is definitely a prime target. Your batteries drain, other things happen. A car is just a big device, so a battery drain in a car is not out of the question.
CJ was thankful they eventually made it out relatively unscathed by Maggie, but the experience left him too scared to return and try again.
Looking back at it now, I think about like what happened. I'm telling you right now, this is real, and I believe it was Maggie 100%.
Oh, God! You have got to be kidding me.
Coming up, a phantom athlete makes a run across a football game and has belief in a monster called the Rake actually willed it into existence. Proud parents often like to preserve all of their children's achievements on video. From recording their first steps to filming their high school sports games, these days every minor or major event is well documented throughout a kid's life. But for one Sylmar, California mom, the camera may have caught something other than a treasured adolescent memory. She may have captured some chilling, paranormal activity. In December 2013, Ana Diana was reviewing old footage she took of her daughter, Mariela Rodriguez, cheerleading at a Sylmar Spartans home game from the month before, when she noticed something unusual coming from the right side of the screen. She couldn't believe what she was seeing and ran to Mariela to show her.
My name is Mariela Rodriguez, and my mom is the one who recorded the video. I was actually the cheerleader getting thrown in the air in that video. And the first few times I actually saw it, I was like, it's just me cheering, you know, but after probably the second or third time that I saw it was when I actually saw the spirit. It was kind of like a grayish, transparent figure, and it looks like a blurred out person, kind of not too transparent, more like translucent, and no one around is kind of even aware of it.
When you see this apparition run across the field, it runs right in front of the security guards, and they don't even act like it's there.
And then by the time it gets to where the cheerleaders are, it pretty much evaporates before it reaches the other side of the screen.
So the fact that no one around there looked at the figure kind of makes it seem like it was a spirit.
The fact that the ghostly figure wasn't noticed until they played back the video may also lend more credence to the possibility that this was something truly otherworldly.
Apparitions and voices, anomalous voices, have been showing up in recording media since recording media has been invented. It's real popular with EVP. It happens all the time with the EVP, where you don't hear an answer to a question that you're asking until you're listening to the recorder later on. So it's not an uncommon event where somebody is filming and is able to catch an apparition after the fact.
Mariella explained what made this particular sighting even stranger, based on the location.
Surrounding the actual field is our track, and around the track, it's all gated. And during the football games, unless you have a pass, you're not able to go into the track or the football field whatsoever. The gates are always locked. And where it looked like he was running from was probably 6 to 7 feet only from like the gate to the field. And so there was no way that someone could have gotten that much speed for it to be blurred out so much.
The fact that there was a game going on and there was a lot of heightened emotions and heightened activity, and the cheerleaders just did a successful routine, maybe that was the energy that this particular haunting needed to replay. It was the spark that gave it the energy it needed to manifest in that moment.
For some strange reason, schools, universities, colleges, that kind of thing seem to harbor a lot of spiritual energy, a lot of spiritual activity even. I don't know what the cause for all this is, but it's certainly some sort of connection there.
Incredibly, Mariella wasn't surprised or scared by what she saw.
It didn't scare me at all. It was kind of just like, oh, like it decided to show itself. But so it wasn't scary whatsoever for me. I didn't get any fear. I have always said that I personally feel like I do carry spirits, and when I would share my stories, no one would ever believe me. So now that it was kind of out there, it was nice to have people kind of understand what I see or I go through some days.
The internet has proved to be a revolutionary and positive technological development for the world. But what happens when its powers are used for evil? In the mid-2000s, stories of a monstrous creature known as the Rake began appearing on the dark corners of the web. It was thought to be so dangerous that anyone that crossed paths with one would not live to see another day. Over the years, sightings increased, and many began to wonder, does the Rake really exist? In 2008, Oregon resident Kenneth Collins heard a noise coming from an empty building at the back of his Portland suburb property. He grabbed his camera and decided to go out to investigate.
I can only imagine walking into this abandoned building and seeing something and hearing something like this coming at you. Like, where do you go? What do you do?
It's a terrifying looking creature. It's kind of this liminal state of like being a human, but having this weird sort of animalistic movement where you kind of can't place it. It doesn't move like anything you've seen, which makes it even more jarring and upsetting.
There are tales that we've all seen that have gone viral of this horrific creature called the Rake. And if such a creature were to exist, this video is exactly what you would expect the Rake to look like.
The Rake is a relatively new cryptid in the pantheon of strange, uncategorized creatures. People have reported that they're pretty limber and nimble with these short legs and really long arms, but we don't really know what it does. I mean, what do rakes feed on? You know, what are they descended from? What is their genus? We have no idea, but there's just been so many reports of them in recent years that you certainly have to put it into that realm of cryptozoology that is sort of a science unto itself.
If there are more sightings of this kind of creature, then it does give a little more credence to maybe this thing possibly is real and maybe it reproduces, which is scary.
The growing frequency of alleged encounters of the rake has solidified its reputation as one of modern society's most terrifying cryptids. So, have we willed this gruesome creature into existence?
You do have to wonder, like, what makes these things real? Does the collective unconscious create these entities in real life so they can manifest themselves and become visible?
When a people and when a culture talks about something enough, a topa is created, which essentially is something from nothing. And in paranormal circles, this was famously done in something called the Philip experiment, where researchers were doing EVP sessions where they created a character, they created a backstory, and they asked questions of this imaginary figure. And eventually, Philip responded.
Sure then. Kenneth did not stick around to find out exactly who or what was charging towards him. And this fleeting glimpse is just another piece of the puzzle as to whether the rake may actually be real.
The people in this video made the right choice by seeing the rake, turning around, and running.
For any traveler or investigator that comes across something that you might think is the rake, my suggestion would be get out, because as this video shows, the rake is ready to rip your face off.
Coming up, shocking poltergeist activity terrifies a homeowner.
Oh my gosh.
When a loved one passes away, those left behind often attempt to reach out to the departed for some assurance, even if it's ambiguous, that they are truly in a better place. But if you are anything like the UK's Donna Ayres, you might not have to go all that far out of your way to make contact with the dead. Maybe the dead will contact you. In 2009, Ayres, a resident of Burnley, England, experienced the death of her brother Paul, someone with whom she had had a troubled relationship. Almost immediately after Paul's passing, Donna began to witness unabashed poltergeist activity happening within her home, which she blamed on the spirit of Paul. But she was never able to capture any of the phenomena on tape. That is, until the end of 2014, when Donna recorded this shocking activity in her kitchen.
I thought I heard something moving, so I ran in, got my laptop, placed my laptop there, and just left it to run.
I try to figure out how would I stage this, and I wouldn't be able to. We're so close in on it, I think that if it were a string of any kind, it would be evident.
Oh my God.
And then when the spoon just stands up and sort of dances around, I can't figure out how they could have faked that.
But it wasn't just the spoon. Over the next several weeks, Donna witnessed multiple objects in her home somehow moving on their own. It was her flowers.
I don't know, I just can't understand it myself.
And her chandelier.
I'm absolutely mesmerized. How is this possible? Seriously, it just boggles my mind.
And finally, her tea mug.
Oh my gosh. The surface isn't wet or anything, it's all dry. So there's no reason for it to be moving. And it's moving again.
I was initially skeptical of these videos, but if it was one video, it's easy to be skeptical. 2 videos, okay, the evidence is mounting. 3 videos, that's unusual. It makes you wonder what's causing it.
Oh, Christ.
So it seems that Donna really was dealing with a haunting.
Keeps moving.
But the question remains, is it her brother?
Wow. That's you, innit?
And if so, is it possible for a person to target another person from the afterlife?
Oh my God, that is moving.
There are some hauntings that attach themselves to people. We do hear stories sometimes of not just a home being haunted, but having the haunting actually follow a person.
If you had a problem with a person during their life, if they become an apparition after their death, I would imagine that person might still have a sort of unresolved conflict with the living.
But despite Donna and Paul's acrimonious relationship, some experts think Paul might be reaching out with good intentions.
I think that him moving these items around is actually a sign of him saying that everything is okay now. Not all hauntings are necessarily evil. Some of them can be sweet.
If it is you, then thank you for letting me know you're here.
It might be simply to say, hey, you know, this has happened, this is me, everything's okay, and I'm just gonna mess with you a little bit. I certainly would.
Coming up, an otherworldly attack in an abandoned house. Professional vlogging is a recent career path, only made possible by the rise of the internet. While making videos that share their thoughts and experiences with subscribers, the most popular personalities can garner thousands and thousands of followers as they broadcast their daily life on the web. And even newer, smaller cameras have allowed them to do that from pretty much anywhere.
Well, you guys, what is going on?
But in 2016, one vlogger had a terrifying encounter while filming that his usual audience may not want any part of.
What the f was that?
For a new video, YouTube vlogger Dana Thompson rode out to explore the remains of an abandoned, partially renovated house in Lake Elsinore, California. He had explored the empty building once before, but after hearing rumors of a ghost on the premises, he decided to check it out again. As someone who had never had a paranormal experience, the reports intrigued him.
It's been a long time since I've been over here. The door's still kicked down over here. That's actually like dangerous. My name is Dana Thompson. I was actually the person recording the video. First time I was there, nothing happened. It was just pretty spooky. But there was like a little forum about haunted places, and people were saying that they spotted like some sort of ghost there before, and I wanted to go back again. Somebody put like a blanket right here. That's actually like extremely sketchy, like.
At first, Dana was still skeptical, but as he made his way through the abandoned house, things started to happen.
What the f was that?
It's a common occurrence that spirits try to get your attention by knocking things over, throwing things at you.
What the f was that? That man's that's creepy, dog. I was like, what the f was that?
Dana dismissed the first noise and continued filming until something happened that he simply could not ignore.
Oh, f***ing. It freaked me out. It like echoed within the walls. It was crazy. Oh, f***ing. Just this loud bang. I mean, it's a satellite dish, so that's a pretty heavy item. And so once it hit the concrete ground, it just echoed throughout the whole entire place.
Upon playback, Dana saw that the object had been dropped from the open beams above. Astonishingly, the space from where it fell was completely open to the roof, with no place for anyone living to be able to stand.
If somebody is throwing something at you, you're dealing with an apparitional or an intelligent type of spirit.
Oh!
They've thrown something at you, they know that you're there, and they're trying to let you know they're there.
Oh!
That was actually my first paranormal experience. I was scared. I was like, I don't know, it just spooked me. So I ran out the front door and like, it was just like, what the heck is going on right now?
God, where did that come from? I'm getting out of this bitch. I am getting out of here.
You never believe anything until it actually happens to you. And then once it happens to you, it changes your mind on things.
For human beings, when we see a ruin or an old castle or even just an abandoned building, or in this case, a construction site that was never completed, we feel like if people aren't inhabiting it, something must.
You know, I don't necessarily believe in like paranormal activity or ghosts or like that, but I was genuinely freaked out. I was like, that was weird.
Man, have you seen those movies? I don't want to stick around. I don't know what's gonna happen to me. I'm not like the movies where I stay around and figure it out. I left.
Coming up, a notoriously haunted hotel in Texas. The Magnolia Hotel in Seguin, Texas has gone through many iterations. Originally built in 1840, it was an outpost for stagecoaches to stop as they continued their journey west. In the 1930s, it was converted into apartments, but eventually fell into disrepair. So when the new owners bought the building in 2013, they decided to honor the history and began to restore the rundown rooms to their frontier day conditions. But the construction process may have unleashed a torrent of spirits that had long laid dormant.
The Magnolia Hotel has a very checkered past. Throughout the whole tail end of the 1800s, all types of people came and stayed at that hotel. And I could see that being a hotbed for haunts because it's being thrown back into the era of when it was first built in the 1840s. You're allowing these spirits or energies that were there from the traumatic times of the stagecoach days to relive its past all over again.
Now, as they're doing the renovation, I guess the workers and the people that would visit the location were having a lot of experiences, and they were hearing footsteps, they were hearing people call their names.
Word began to spread in Texas of the unexplainable events at the hotel, piquing the interest of a local ghost hunting team, who contacted the property's new owners and asked to investigate the alleged paranormal activity.
My name is Mark Morrow. My name is Billy Driver. When we first went down there to meet with them and to hear the stories, I mean, there was like this energy of this building that I've never felt. And, you know, as of today, you know, they've accounted for over 13 spirits in this building through their research.
The Weeping Lady is such a sad story, and they actually caught an incredible picture of her leaning out the window.
We were one of the very first teams to ever investigate the property.
Mark and Billy got to work at the Magnolia Hotel, where they set up stationary cameras and investigated throughout the building to see if they could make contact with one of the ghosts that lived there. And on May 14th, 2016, they may have done just that. Mark was leading a group of fellow curious ghost hunters through the cellar when their electromagnetic field meters started going off, alerting them to possible activity in the room.
our Mel meter started lighting up, which was indicating that the electromagnetic energy was changing down there. We were getting spikes, and people in the circle, as we formed a circle in the room, we all were getting the goosebumps. All of our hair was standing up.
Mark couldn't believe what happened next.
One of the women in the group, she kept feeling something touching her shoulder and like stroking her hair. As I was talking to her to kind of suss out what was happening, I suddenly felt the hand that she was describing come up and touch my shoulder. I just felt this cold, the weight of a hand touching me. There's really nothing else like it.
Mark and Billy watched back the footage to see if they could make out anything that might have touched Mark's back. And what they saw surprised them.
That we saw this orb that was almost kind of taunting us. You see it fly behind people, you see it fly behind me, and then it's like, okay, I'm done. And it just flies up into the ceiling and disappears.
You see that dust floating by, but the orb and the dust look different. They're at a different speed, they're going at a different rate. So, it definitely makes it more compelling.
When it comes to any paranormal activity, what a good investigator will look for is secondary indications. In this case, someone present felt like something touched their back. So the coincidence of this orb being there at the same time, it might be that coincidence, but it also might be that secondary indication.
Could it have been one of the 13 spirits said to haunt the hotel? Mark and Billy think it's possible.
So we'll sit down and we'll look at the clip and we'll review it, and we'll even go back into the room and see if we can try to debunk it or figure it out. And in regards to these clips, we were not able to debunk them.
It's quite an amazing building, and even with the history that it has in Central Texas, it's that building is alive. It really is.
What should you do in the event you witness something paranormal? Here are some tips to get it all on camera. Go to where the spirits are. Check all your footage for something strange. Never stop recording, even when you're scared. And if you do catch something, email us at submitparanormal@gmail.com and connect with us on social media. Your footage could be seen right here on Paranormal Caught on Camera.